As the prices start to drop on a short-term horizon, people start to panic. And this is one of the questions which would be valid at that point. Are we dropping huge, going all the way back to 0.2 range? Or do you expect bulls to come? The market is right now reacting to a news. Look at this one and understand it as a macro scenario where it's a short-term move. And at the same time, what happens? People rush to the dollar goes up, it kind of blasts through. That is what you are seeing, because the price drops you are looking at is that crypto towards that particular fiat currency. And this panic goes through it, then jump onto different pairs. XRP to USD, great. Then it follows by XRP, BTC and others. But especially for XRP, this is actually a great news, because we've been talking about a retest possibility, which we want to or wish to see that it is coming down. The moving average stays there, you bounce. Now, why is that? Because the macro scenario, you're talking about big money. And when you target all the money, even if 25% of that comes in and you're managing that transactions, it's huge. Why is that? When the previous IMF head and the current ECB head gives you the name for payments and transactions like ripples and others are helpful. They put the name there. Why is that important? Because the current IMF head is actually giving you that narrative on a same platform where all the central banks can drop their central bank digital currency, which give you the interoperability, which gives you that advantage of instant payment at zero cost or near zero cost. Now we come back to the price. What does that actually mean? Long term, it's super bullish. Last 658 days, you were inside this and you just broke higher. Now, don't expect the line to go directly to the sky. You will have volatility. You are going to come retest that and bounce. And I happened to actually see what Credible Crypto was highlighting regarding questions which Matt put in. I'm like, okay, that's actually real genuine questions which a lot of us had. And the response from Credible is actually showing like, okay, something we discussed before. And I'm like, okay, that's a great affirmation for me, because we were talking about this wave 1, wave 2, and we are looking for a wave 3. And that's one of the reasons why I always suggest, if you are believing that this is a bear market, the market cycle bear market, then you will be surprised when we go down the next big one, because you only have one wave to the upside left. And after that, when you drop, that's going to wash a lot of people out, because they believe the next one is a bull market, the starting of a long-term bull market, which it won't be. So be prepared and understand what the market is showing you, and understand this is also a good news. That means you have the wave 3 in Bitcoin, you have the wave 2 happening in a lot of altcoins, you have huge opportunity. To seize that, you need to enter assets which are starting to trend higher, not the assets which are still trending lower, and they are getting volume. Make sure they are getting volume. So when you see 5x, 10x, great, you need to take the profits out. We had people who had this issue before in the last one. They saw 8x, 10x, great, but they can't close because there is no liquidity. So always make sure you do the right stuff. And if you want some kind of support, look at the Patreon. We have all those there for you. And when you make the right decisions and go through profit-taking scenarios, always know what your volatility range is. That's your risk tolerance, so that you know where to take profits, because there will be guys who will give you $10,000 XRP, $30,000 XRP, that kind of target. But, let's be real and talk about this cycle, not something for 5, 10, 15 years, because not everyone is here for that time. I'm here the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. My boy is just 2 years. It's going to be 3 this year. But I'm looking for next 17 years in different asset class. So I have time. Not everyone is looking for that long range. If you are that guy who's looking to capitalize on next 2 years, 2.5 years, this bull market ending and moving into different asset class, you need to take different decisions than a lot of other people. So that is one of the reasons why I say work with your portfolio. Make sure you understand the risk which you are taking and the balanced version of it. Don't be in completely risky coins. Balance it. This is a scientific investor family where the normal common retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of the world. So what we are talking about here is a move in the price which actually indicates W. In technical analysis, you put W for when that is a reversal to the upside. If you're a bull, this is what you're looking at. You went up, you hit this long-term resistance. Now you are coming back down. What you want to see is a retest and a bounce. And mostly the price is going to give you that. But you will be confused whether it's the moving average on a weekly to look at, or it's a daily or 3-day. But I would say easy idea is to focus on the RSI here. Because when you see the RSI, it is coming down and hitting your support. That gives you even better clarity. Because on a daily, the moving average is already above this. So on a weekly, yes, you do see the moving average lower and you see a possibility of 0.39 as potential range. But when you zoom in on a daily, the moving average is already above that range. So by the time price comes to 0.41, 0.42, moving average and the price should meet. Now, what is the concern on that area? You are trying to actually put your trend line, and you can argue that the trend line is here and the RSI has room to drop to reach that trend line support before it actually bounces. But what makes me think like, okay, 0.42 can hold is the 12-hour chart, which indicates that the price is dropping. It's near the moving average and the RSI is closing in on the support. But the MACD actually shows I'm crossing lower. I don't agree with both these. Great. That does mean you also have to consider a daily chart and look at where RSI is and how much it has to the downside. So the room to the downside on a daily is still there. So you just go on to the macro scenario, ask that question to yourself like, okay, fine. If it is dropping to 0.4 and bouncing back, is there any actions to be taken for me? If you are a holder who bought in way lower or accumulated here with this double bottom and retest, you don't most likely have to do much unless you want to buy more. But if you did not buy this asset here or you went out of this asset during this period of consolidation where you felt like this is not going to do anything, now you may actually have an opportunity to buy close. Now, why is that? The price is again trending inside a channel where we just reach the resistance and you're going back down. But this happens to be the case whenever you have a new trend starting. Now, this is kind of, this is DAG constellation. So you're comparing that, seeing what was the measured move and how much it actually did after the breakout of the roof. You now go to the altcoin market and look at the short-term scenario. You're getting something similar there. So that actually means the altcoin market can literally pull off another 50%. This is a short-term scenario, not the macro. So you're not looking for 50x here. You are looking for the direction. So if it happens to break to the upside, then you are looking for a run which can actually take you all the way back up. Now, that actually takes you into the price action of early 2022. Not every assets were completely bullish back then. Great. That takes you into the XRP and a bounce from there. Great. Now you look at the XRP Ether side of this. On a short term, you can argue that this is the resistance and we should bounce from here. But look at that moving average. It is way lower. Look at that RSI support. It's way higher. So you have a lot of room to the downside. That's why when you zoom in, trying to look at where we are, I feel like, okay, yes, I agree that this resistance is broken. That's a retest. But at the same time, I would also say like, okay, why can't we break this one, retest this one and bounce? That would be the best case scenario, right? It is healthy. Like a lot of people who want to buy more or sell and move out, they are moved. So those who buy at the retest are looking for a higher high. So you have the chances to see the prices growing further. So as you see, people are running into the stable coins here. For the time being, this is real time. So it's not like the macro change. Still, it is a move to the upside, meaning stable coin is getting more volume in at a time when BTC is dropping, XRP is correcting lower, that kind of scenario. Great. But on the macro side, you see dollar is strengthening everywhere with the fear coming out. Because if this really plays out, Europe is going to have a hard time and the world economy is going to again try and do the soft war kind of stuff. But when we look at the macro scenario for what we are positioned for, which is the payments route because of XRP, XLM, Quant, XDC, whichever your favorite token is for the payments area, I would say like, okay, listen to this. Now, what they are saying here about the central bank digital currency is not that great, but it does align with what we heard before from these big guys. It does actually go back to this range. Listen to this.
And ripples and all those, that's where they are active and
you really don't have too much words to actually talk about. And I thought, we already listened to this in one of our previous video, but this actually goes back into and tie up with that. And at the time, reality is that we are getting something out. And shout out to Ellen, Ellie actually. And I'm like, okay, that's actually great. But when you look through this, people in US, keep your nose down. If you see him, man, don't smile. That's it. Don't directly go, crazy. Because these stuff clearly highlight there is something bad. They've been talking about Ether. Okay, the speech was about Ether, so that's okay. But what about this? When I'm looking at this, like, okay, the speech was about that back in 2018, and now after 2 years, we just got screwed because the SEC don't understand the technology. And they are talking about this. So I'm like, okay, there is something happening. If Ripple Council is going there, trying to educate them properly, and they don't take that idea and then go screw them, it's really awful to see what really is happening inside that unit of government agency. But things will get resolved because the macro scenario is what's important. The micro guys are trying to slow this down. And now you know why this is happening. The connection to the Ether gate setup is not that small anymore. Everyone understands what is happening. But we are not actually looking at this one. And a lot of people still say we don't want central banks. Now, there are era in history where you have seen central banks getting crushed and then, people go into different system, but eventually they go back to this system because that's giving them more control over money and people. So they will actually go back and stick into that one. But as you see things evolve, this really actually, now at this point, all of this is great information because the judge is anyway going to make a decision based on the facts presented. And now the SEC is turning towards Ether too, saying, okay, majority of the nodes are in US. So we have the authority over those transactions. And I'm like, okay, now they are getting what they really want to. But understand, this is from Quant, actually, Digital Pound Foundation. And the Quant guy is highlighting the benefits of CBDCs and designing a system that delivers them. So when they talk about, programmability for money, that may not always be good, but, in some instance, that can be really good. It can reduce the friction in the market for the time being and give you more ability, right? And then I saw this one and I'm like, okay, so they are talking about payments and they're highlighting Bitcoin. How many of you actually have tried Bitcoin as a payment mechanism, whether to buy your coffee or sending a little bit love to your loved ones? Then you already understand what is happening. Either you need to create that lightning channel to do your payment, or you need to go through the mainnet, which seems expensive, even compared to Bitcoin. Now, Ether. Then you actually look at this one and say, okay, if this is for the entire European region, think about one thing. Do you have the scalability to process all these transactions, which has to be instant? That's a hard question because at that point, people need to move their money in the Bitcoin because not all the time you get to process the transaction instantly. When they say instant, right? You can go back to the instant coffee sachet and use it and say, okay, that's better than Bitcoin at times. Anyway, jumping back into what we do, market is actually volatile. You go look at a short-term scenario to see like, okay, what the market is doing. And you can literally see like, okay, there is a resistance. Okay, let me move that one here. And look at this. So you don't have a doubt of what's happening. This is kind of the third touch here. So that is a resistance right now. And you can argue that this was the support which we are breaking to the downside. So now your support is somewhere close to this range. You can argue on that one, 0.39 or even a little bit lower. That's the major support for this price action. But you do get support at 0.41. You do get some at 0.42. But we really want to see, it will be interesting to see from where we bounce, because it actually gives you the idea and the clarity of how many people are buying back in, and that shows you the FOMO. Because on a 4-hour chart right now, when you highlight a 4-hour chart, also understand that the price can consolidate at the bottom a couple of times, make a double bottom, triple bottom, whatever. On a 4-hour chart, you are closing in on this trend line, which we've started on 21st of this month. So it's a week older and it is still holding the price action during this time period. So when the price is dropping on a 4-hour and it is reaching the RSI on the support line, and we happen to see the price coming to the moving average on a 12-hour chart, I would actually think like, okay, there is a possibility. Okay, we are near the support. But on a longer time span, as you step back, you see like, okay, it still has some room in the RSI. So either we slow down at 0.4, 0.343 range and consolidate there for like 1 or 2 days before we go up. That's the only way the RSI can reach at the bottom. If not, it should be a huge drop in the same day to 0.4. So you start this day all the way from 0.47, drop to 0.4 and consolidate there, then go back higher. We don't know what the market is about to do with all these macro bad news, good news, that narrative out there. But right now, you really want to actually look at where we bounce from. Because if it's 0.42, it's way bullish than 0.4. Meaning, when you are at 0.4, more people are there to buy whatever the people are selling, to absorb what they are selling and to push the price back up. So that shows you they are not waiting for 0.4. They don't really want to miss out waiting for 0.4 if it reverses and bounces off from 0.42. So what we really want to actually see in the bullish case is 0.42 holding or above that. If it's 0.4, okay, you are now looking at 1.8. That's actually reduced to 1.5, 1.55, close to 1.6. That resistance level, right? So there will be an impact which gives the price action, the momentum. So the momentum from the base is what actually counts, the foundation of this rally. So guys, if you are receiving value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you are looking for different information for different crypto assets in your portfolio before this major bull run comes in, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. That's it, guys. I'll meet you on the next video. Bye-bye.